Choosing choir music? I have some ideas for you. Hi, I'm a music teacher and this is my life. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you how you can choose the right music for your singers. Now, for context here, I'm the current junior choir director at my church, and most of my singers are somewhere between grades 2 and 12 in the elementary and high school systems here in Canada. I also ran a high school choir while small. It was a great learning experience. I just started it this year as a new teacher in the building. And back at my church, we also have an intermediate choir, which includes both high school singers and university-aged singers. This video is going to come mainly out of that context, but I hope that the tips that I give are as universally helpful as possible. These are some of the considerations that I used, and I hope they're helpful. Before we start, remember to give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and be sure to ring the notification bell so that you stay up to date on all the future videos. So most of the advice that I'm giving is going to fall into one of two categories. The first category is going to be all about knowing your singers. And I'm going to break that down a little bit. So the first part of knowing your singers is you need to know their ranges, both their age ranges and vocal ranges. And this is important so that you can choose repertoire that will challenge them to expand their vocal range in a healthy way so they can start within their comfort zone, gradually expand their vocal range. From a health perspective, though, you don't want to cause any potential vocal strain. Now, when it comes to their vocal range and their age range, those two are interrelated when you have students who may be, for example, experiencing puberty or their voice is in a stage of transition for any other reason. So again, you want to make sure that they have healthy singing experiences. You want to make sure that you are choosing repertoire where, for example, if there are only one or two parts happening at the same time, that maybe they can choose an octave that's comfortable for them. And if that means that in certain parts of the song, they are singing as written, or for parts of it they have to drop down the octave, you want to encourage your singers to have opportunities to do what feels most comfortable for them. If you're singing something that's 4-part harmony, that might mean that maybe for a song, instead of singing tenor, they sing a baritone line because it's a little bit more comfortable as their voices are dropping. Those are some examples that I think are very important when it comes to knowing your singer's ranges, both age and vocal range. Knowing your choir's skill level is also very important, and there are so many ways where a song or a piece can be proven to be difficult to either learn or perform. Now, some songs can be difficult for a variety of reasons. Some of them may have very difficult parts because there are challenging harmonies. So sometimes you will have pieces where when the choir is singing all together, it doesn't sound right, but it is because the harmonies are just dissonant at that moment, and they often will resolve later. But you need to have singers who have strong enough ear training skills and who are independent enough to be able to hold their own note without thinking it's wrong and then singing the same note as another part. Because in some pieces of music, or songs in this case, since we're talking about choir music, that dissonant harmony can add something really unique and special to that part of the song before it resolves. That's one of the ways that a piece can be difficult. Another way is if you have multiple parts with different times of entry, or singing different words simultaneously, etc. I experienced that in the high school choir that I was directing this past year. So it's very hard when you have groups of singers who need to come in at different parts, because they need to be able to hear that there are other parts happening around them and that they need to wait for their entry. They need to not necessarily sing the same words at the same time. So if you have part 1 starting 2 bars before part 2, it can be very difficult. And I learned this year when I was working with more beginner level singers at a high school level, and having the different parts coming in at different times proved to be a challenge, but a worthwhile challenge, because at the end of the semester and the year, they ended up making a lot of improvements. Difficult rhythms can also be tricky for young or less experienced choirs, so be sure to have that as part of your rehearsal process early on, and be really intentional and gradual with teaching those tricky rhythms so that over time they will be able to master them when it comes time for the performance. Another way that you need to be able to know your singers is so that you can create the right balance. The human ear will naturally hear higher pitches much easier than lower pitches, which is why, for example, it's so easy to hear an emergency vehicle from far away, but it's a lot more challenging to hear, say, a low murmur from a construction site that might be just as far away. But in the same way, you should try and balance your choir. This can also be applied to band as well, but you want to try and balance it so that you don't have, say, more sopranos than altos or more tenors than basses. In my high school, back when I was a student, the soprano section was the biggest. And then in the band, the flute section was also the biggest. Not very helpful that I was both a soprano and I'm a flute player. However, if you can strike the right balance when it comes to those vocal parts, that can be really helpful. So maybe soprano in general is the healthiest range for those singers, but maybe some of them are strong harmonizers and they can be moved to soprano too. Or maybe you have some tenors who could sing lower than that and could maybe sing a baritone part, right? You also need to have the right balance when it comes to difficulty. So balancing some songs that have more comfortable parts and songs that have some challenging parts to give your singers a place to start in their comfort zone, then be pushed out of their comfort zone and into their zone of proximal development. By doing this, you're able to create some variety. You want choir to be fun, not boring. And as a singer, you would want the exact same thing. So having a variety of pieces of different tempos, different complexities, different themes, maybe different challenges. You want your choir to have fun learning and performing a variety of repertoire when they're singing. And as someone who's experienced that, that can be extremely helpful because it increases motivation. Students get to have a lot of fun. And if you're in a high school setting and you're able to teach them about singing in different languages, it also helps students who might be international students or English language learners to feel like, hey, everyone in this choir is on the same playing field. We're all learning something new, not just new musically, but new linguistically. The second category for my advice is all about knowing the setting. So let's break that down. You want to consider the location and the type of event. Is this a performance that's just for fun, or is it for a competition? Now, if you're a music educator, there's a good chance that you can break down what the elements of music are in all of the songs or pieces that you're performing, and you have a good idea of what an adjudicator will be listening for. Is it a specific holiday or seasonal event? In a church calendar year, maybe you're performing specific songs for Advent or Christmas or Easter Sunday, and you want to be able to make sure that thematically your songs are appropriate for that event. You also need to consider how much time you have. So you need to be realistic with how much time you have and compare that with how difficult the repertoire can be. So how much rehearsal time you need to prepare a song versus how much rehearsal time you have can be difficult. In a school context, if your choir rehearses on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you have to be realistic and understand that you're going to be losing some of those Monday rehearsals and Friday rehearsals for things like holiday weekends throughout the school year or PD days. So those are going to be things that you need to consider before the semester or the school year starts and plan around that. Also, when I say prepare, I mean your choir members should be able to stand up feeling confident and ready to sing so that they can do a great job performing and so that they can feel great about it. You also need to consider your audience. So make sure that the lyrics are appropriate for the setting. So whether that's a school setting, a church setting, when I was a high school student, we would go and perform at seniors' homes. So making sure that the lyrics are appropriate both for the setting, for the intended purpose. Again, if it's a Thanksgiving or Christmas holiday kind of setting, you want to make sure that all of the music is appropriate for the audience, and that way your singers can have a great time, because that way everything is going to be perfect, ready to go. And if you're in a school setting, make sure that your principal or vice principal would be proud and happy with the things that you're performing, as well as pleasing the parents, because that's important too. And that's it. Those are some key considerations when it comes to choosing the right music for your choir. Remember to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, ring the notification bell so that you stay up to date on all of the upcoming videos. Give us a follow over on Instagram at My Music Teacher Life, and I will see